can scream and shout with all your might.
Wah, 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 wah.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
I should hold on tight to your throats and cut off the oxygen to your tiny little brains.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
And don't forget the ever-present third possibility. You are wrong, and I am right. Thank you. Welcome to another edition of Stating the Obvious, brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. I am, of course, your host, Skip Doggy Dog. Today is the 25th of February. It is going on 5 o'clock here in lovely Fort Collins, Colorado. Sun's out today. It was pleasant outside. It was good. Oh, it's supposed to be a little crappier this weekend. You gotta love it. I'm gonna try to knock this out before I have to meander off to the theater and sit through yet another performance of Scarlet Letter. Oh, the hideousness, the sheer hideousness. We're picking up talking about monogamous marriage, all that other good stuff. I had to go back and listen to, thank you. The email address, if you wish to contact me, is of course sto@204eastsouth.com. That's sto@204eastsouth.com. In the control room, the lovely, the adorable, the precious Randy. Precious. We'll call you Precious from now on. You can be the Precious Princess. Yes, say. Yeah. Randy in the control room. She will be keeping me on time and on target, hopefully. What else is? Oh, and of course the theme song to Stating the Obvious is You Know I'm Right, performed by David Gilmour from his 1984 album About Face. Did we take care of all the business? I think that was all the business. So we are ready. I'm going to pick up, hopefully, where I left off. I don't remember exactly. I didn't remember where I had left off on the first one. I had to go back and listen to the tail end. Hopefully I am not leaving anything out. Of course, if I do, it's not like anybody will know it except for me. What? No, you won't know nothing. There we go. Okay, yeah, I just totally... That was smart. I just totally stopped the recorder. It was completely on accident, but nonetheless, I did. Now I have to regather my thoughts, get my train back on the tracks. I should be going to yoga class too right now. It's almost 5. But, well, gotta do what we gotta do, and today I gotta miss yoga class. It sucks butt. Alright. Next place we're going with this is, let's take a look at these things. We're talking about marriage. Let's take a look at this in the context of the current debate over gay marriage. Now, of course, many of you out there are under the mistaken impression that the Christian right, or the religious right, and the atheist left are at odds over the gay marriage debate. The religious right, of course, believes that marriage should occur between a man and a woman. And they also, for some bizarre... Oh, where is that article? Ooh, Randy, we should use... That's going to add on. Okay. Sorry, folks, train of thought. Something we're going to attack later. The religious right thinks that marriage is a union between a man and a woman which was created for procreating and is the basis of civilization. If you listen to some of these people talk, without monogamous marriage between a man and a woman, there would be no civilization. We'd still all be, living in caves and eating raw meat because nobody had figured out how to use fire yet. I'm thinking that's probably not true. The atheist left believes that marriage should be extended to include man and a man, or a woman or a woman. And many of you out there, of course, look at this and are operating under the false belief that this means, as I almost fall over out of the chair, that this means there is a difference between the atheist left and the religious right when it comes to marriage, its interpretation, its meaning, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to explain to you very briefly why this is not so, and why neither of these groups is the friend of freedom, and why I do not support the atheist left in their attempt to legitimize or legalize homosexual marriage. And it's not because, let's get this out of the way first, it's not because I don't think homosexuals should be allowed to get married. Excuse me. The reason I am opposed is simply these. Each of these groups, the religious right and the atheist left, believes that the government should be deciding who is allowed to get married to who. And I would ask the question, when did this happen? Where exactly does the government get the right to decide who's going to marry who from? If marriage is a religious, I'm going to jump ahead in my notes here. If marriage is a religious ceremony, a religious tradition, a religious institution, then why is the religious right so insistent that the decision of who gets married who be made by the government? If it's a religious tradition, religious institution, shouldn't this decision be made by the church or religious leaders or something like that? If the left, now the left, of course, the atheist left, is in the position of, wait, Randy, train of thought. What am I talking about? No, I'm getting ahead of myself now. Jeez. I apologize. The brain. It's hurting today. So Randy's pointing out that my brain always hurts anytime I try to use it. The religious right. If marriage is a religious institution, why is the religious right so interested in turning control over to the government? The atheist left, of course, is interested in turning control of who gets married to who over to the government, because this is the only way people on the left can ever advance their causes, is for the government to come along and force people to do things. So in the case of both of them, they're attempting to increase the amount of power the government has and to put something in the jurisdiction of the government that really shouldn't be there at all. I mean, if marriage is a religious ceremony, we've already covered that. If marriage is simply a social convention, then still, why shouldn't the government be determining that? I mean, social conventions are, like what kind of restaurant is suitable to take a woman when you're trying to impress her and get in her pants, right? Everybody knows you take her to a nice fancy Italian place, you're going to score. If you take her to McDonald's, you're going to lose. This is a social convention. The government doesn't need to be determining and enforcing these things. So both the atheist left and the religious right are trying to put marriage in the realm of something the government decides, something the government dictates, and something the government controls. This is not a good thing. They're both looking for the same thing here. This does not make either of them a friend of freedom. The second problem here is that both the atheist left and the religious right believe that the government should be dictating who is allowed to get married and how many people are allowed to get married. The religious right, of course, says two people, a man and a woman. The atheist left says two people, a man and a man, or a woman or a man and a woman. But in both cases, both of these groups are telling you who you should be allowed to marry and how many you should be allowed to marry. Now, last time I checked, this would be, because of course, why can't you marry more than one other person? Well, because that's immoral. It's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. And this, of course, is coming from both the right and the atheist left. The atheist left being, of course, the people who, how many times have they told us, you can't legislate morality? Really? So what do you mean if you're a member of the atheist left and you say you can't legislate morality? Because remember, we hear this all the time when it comes to abortion. You can't legislate morality. How many times have you heard some fucking feminazi bitch at a protest telling you that the government cannot legalize... the government can't legalize morality? How many times have you heard some feminazi telling you that the government cannot legislate... brain cramp again. Cannot legislate morality. You hear this all the time. Yet, here they are, the atheist left, attempting to legislate morality. Which just goes to show that you can legislate morality if the morality you're legislating happens to be the morality that the atheist left agrees with. That was a nice big swig of water. In case you're wondering why there was a 20-second silence there. Excuse me. There we go. This is why the gay marriage movement, homosexual marriage movement, whatever they're called this week. This is why... I'm laughing at my notes here because I'm finding misspelled words. This is why these people are not my political allies. This is why I support homosexual people having the freedom to go and get married to each other. What I don't support is the way they're trying to do it, via the government. If we want to do this, what we do is we take marriage out of the realm of something the government controls and dictates and determines, and we put it in the open, free world where it can exist and live and thrive and evolve on its own, and thus it can naturally evolve to include homosexual people or whatever else. We don't do it by utilizing the government to force this on everybody and to make laws about it. That is why. That is how, because many people think I'm contradicting myself when I say, well, I support homosexuals being able to get married. I just don't support the gay marriage movement. People can't understand why that is. And there's a very good reason for it. Let's get back. Let's cover a few other things about this whole monogamy marriage thing, that, or maybe just the monogamy part, that irritates me. As a man, I can tell you for a fact that all men want to boink a lot of women before they get married. That's how we are. We like to boink. We are boinkers. What? Yes, Randy says, yes, you are. We are boinkers. We like to do this. But here's what's fascinating about men, is that men want to have sex with all these women before they get married. Yeah, they want to marry a woman who's a virgin, or at least a woman who hasn't gotten around very much. What always interests me about this is, men, if you want to boink all these chicks before you get married, where do you think they're going to come from? I mean, there's only so many women out there. If they're going to run, for you to boink before you get married, you got to be boinking these women, which means the woman you're going to marry, for it to all work out, she's got to be boinking some guys too. So you can't come up and say, well, I want to marry some chick who's never been boinked before after you've screwed 20 women. Because if every guy wants a virgin, but every guy wants to screw 20 women, there ain't enough women to go around. This is not mathematically possible. So we as men need to lighten up on this thing about looking for women who have no sexual experience. Okay? It doesn't bother me if a chick's boinked 20 guys. Well, okay, yeah, if she's like 12 and she's boinked 20 guys, that's a problem. Now, that's a little excessive. But, okay, lighten up, guys. Lighten the hell up. And, well, but it's true. I mean, look how we refer to women who have a lot of sex as sluts and whores and all this other stuff. And, yeah, you can be a slut and a whore, but see, I think, yeah. No, yeah, you're right. See, I agree with that. I think that the slut, the whore status comes less from the raw number of sexual partners a woman has had, or maybe I shouldn't say it should come, not it does come, it should come less from the raw number of sexual partners you've been with, and maybe a little more from the choices you've made. I mean, if you're a woman and you have sex with 10 men, all of whom you picked up in a bar while you were drunk and you don't remember half of their names, I mean, that's a problem. Like my friend Taryn, who I haven't seen in years, and so I can now talk about her openly because if she wanted to still be my friend, if we needed to talk about her, she'd get in touch with me. Yes, we're airing it all out now. I mean, she worked at a bar, and she was giving her phone number out to everything that moved. And at one point, she got pregnant, and she didn't even have any clue who the father was. So it's like, if that's your status, then yeah, we got some issues going on. But if you're sober when you're meeting the men and you're making conscious, intelligent decisions and they're clean and stuff like that, this is not a problem. And men, see, here's another thing I need to bring up. Men, when you do find yourself a nice little girl, and you're going to keep her or whatever, and you're telling all your friends about, man, how good she fucks or how good she can suck a dick or whatever, stop for a minute and ask yourself this question. How do you think she got those skills? She didn't get good at fucking by reading Cosmopolitan magazine, okay? She got good at fucking from experience. And it wasn't with you. Remember, if she's good the first time she's with you, that means it ain't her first time. See, men don't think about that. All men want to know. All men want to think that I'm the first man that's ever fucked her, and I was the best, and I was so good that made her good. No. Only in your dreams, buddy. Only in your dreams. What? Randy's saying that she's the best. Really? We can just ask half of Fort Collins, right? Ooh! Oh, alright. Next. Alright. Sorry, we're having fun. Alright, this is not talking about monogamy and marriage. This is us having fun. Stop. Alright, back to some little seriousness here. Back again. Marriage is supposed to be something you enter into another person because you love them. I always found this interesting, especially with people who support the no-fault marriage, who are against divorces, all this other stuff. I would say that marriage is actually we've discussed already how marriage is slavery, but marriage is a trap if you are not capable of getting out of it. This is another of the problems I see in marriage, is you get into this and people become so dependent upon the other person, emotionally, psychologically, many times financially. You find yourself literally trapped in this marriage for one or multiple reasons, and either you can't get out, or at least you think you can't get out. Which, if you think you can't get out, that pretty much amounts to the same thing. And I would say, if you really love somebody, why would you want to put them into a situation like that? Because people all change. A wonderful guy this week, 3 years from now, might be a wife-beating, drunk piece of shit. If he marries some woman and she becomes trapped in this relationship with him, financially and emotionally and psychologically, I would say that's not really love. I wouldn't do that to somebody I love. I think we should consider this when we start talking about marriage. How many people, because of the conventions of marriage, get trapped into bad situations? There's a ongoing debate, of course, as to what defines the word moral. What is moral versus immoral? An interesting definition I've come across during my classes is that immoral behavior is any behavior which promotes society. That is to say, promotes society as in people living, working, functioning together in a harmonious manner. If moral is that which promotes society, I would ask the question, how is polygamy immoral? And as people begin rattling these things off, next time you're interested in having a debate with somebody, find somebody who is in support of gay marriage, and then ask them why polygamy is immoral. And notice that all the arguments they can give you are the same arguments that are being given against homosexual marriage. Why can't we have polygamy? Well, because it's not natural, which is of course what they say about homosexual marriage. Because that's not what God intended, which is what they say about homosexual marriage. Because that's just not the way it should be, which is what they say about homosexual marriage. Because it will destroy the family, which is what they say about homosexual marriage. Because of blah blah blah, which is what they say about homosexual marriage. Every invalid argument that's used against homosexual marriage are the very same invalid arguments which are used against polygamy. I always found it interesting that people say polygamy, and of course they say this about homosexual marriage also, is going to somehow devalue the family or destroy the family, which is the basis of civilization as we know it. I fail to understand. So we have two scenarios. We have George and Sally, and they have 3 kids. And if George dies, that means you've got Sally and 3 kids. But if you have Bill and George and Paul and Sally and Rachel and Heather and 12 kids, and Bill dies, you've still got 5 adults here. Polygamy does not create an unstable family situation. It does not destroy the family. It does not leave a family open to devastation. I mean, if you look at monogamous marriage, you got 2 people. If one of them dies, you've lost 50% of the adult. I was about to say the adult intelligence in that household, and then I stopped myself. You've lost 50% of the adult members in that household. Now, this is hard. If you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me that one of the reasons we need marriage and why marriage has to be protected from homosexual marriage and from polygamy and everything else, we need marriage to have stable families. How monogamous marriage can create a stable family is beyond me, especially when you consider divorce, when you consider the possibility of people dying, all this other stuff. I mean, there's a lot of single parents out there. How a monogamous marriage is creating... Randy, what was I about to say? Why can I not think of this word? Stable. Thank you. She is so on it. Randy is the bomb. I would marry her if I believed in marriage. No, I'll just kill your boyfriend. I don't care about him. How monogamous marriage creates stable family situations, I don't know. This is not my idea. To me, stability comes from having multiple avenues of support, which you would have in a polygamous family. But hey, maybe I just have more sense than the rest of you. I don't know. Let's come back to what we were talking about before. If marriage is a religious ceremony, if it's a religious tradition, if it's a religious institution, first of all, we talked about this already, why is the religious right so insistent that the government, I can't spell, the government decide, I don't know what that word is that I typed, why is the religious right so insistent that the government decide who can marry who? If I was a member of the religious right, if I was a member of the religious right, I'd be an idiot. If I was highly religious, and I thought that if I thought that marriage was a religious institution, something dictated, mandated, controlled, made correct, whatever, by God, I would certainly not want the government to be making decisions about who gets married to who. I'd want the church to be making these decisions. And if the atheist left, is so dead set against the legislation of morality, why do they insist that marriage can only occur with permission from the government and between only 2 people? Saying only the government can decide who gets married to who, that is legislating morality. If Now, one of the arguments here is it is said that by homosexuals not being allowed to express their preferences and not being able to get married is discrimination. And we're not going to argue with that at the moment. Maybe not ever. I have to correct my notes again. If homosexuals not being able to get married is discrimination against them, it is said that this causes for them tension, this causes psychological problems, and all these other things. I would simply say, doesn't the exact same thing hold true for polygamy? Blech. I can't talk. If two homosexual parents are better for a child than... What? What did I write here? Hold on, folks. I have to read my notes and attempt to figure out what I am trying to say. Down the to the yeah, they went here. Yeah, okay. Of course, we have the constant debate about what's good for the children. So we have to do everything for the children, as you know. Of course, the members of the homosexual marriage movement would argue that two homosexual parents are better for a child than two heterosexual parents who are abusive. Well, then, if we're going to follow that train, couldn't you also say that three or more parents would be better than two bad parents? In fact, I'm repeating myself to cover the fact that I'm trying to sort this out in my brain real quick, because I just had this thought. If you only have two parents, how easy is it for one of the parents to be abusive and to control and manipulate the other into allowing the abuse to happen? Not just towards the kids, but maybe towards the other. For example, your classic child beater, wife beater type, alcoholic father, whatever. In a larger family unit, there's going to be less likelihood of that happening. So if you have, say for instance, 3 women and 2 men, and one of the men starts getting abusive and everything else like that, it's going to be easier for 4 other people to control him, to curb his emotional and physical outburst, and to either get him out of the family unit and away from the kids where he can't fuck them up, or get him in a situation where he gets psychological or medical help or whatever he may need in order to get back to wherever he was to begin with. I mean, if we're making the assumption that if he came into the marriage, obviously he had something going from at some point. He wasn't an asshole from day one. So a larger family unit not only creates more stability, but it actually would create a emotionally and physically healthier place, healthier unit for the children to be raised in and for the other adults to be in. Yeah, there you go. So I just thought of that. Am I a genius or what? Randy is basking in my brilliance over there in the control room. My brilliance is actually going through the window. It's like sunlight. It's like I'm a supernova in here. And the sunlight is, yeah, I mean, you're getting a suntan right now from my brilliance. You should like totally strip and you could, no tan lines. Yeah. Hey, I had to, hey, give me credit for trying. Water. Okay. I did. I'm serious. For those of you out there listening at home, I did. I seriously just thought of that. That is how brilliant I am. This brings us to dun 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 love. Because you see, one of the major arguments against polygamy is that you can only love one person at a time. You can love jelly-filled donuts. You can love Sex and the City, whatever it is. I've never watched it. You can love your computer. You can love Pink Floyd. You can love all kinds of things. But when it comes to marriage, you can only love one person. Now, I want to know. I want somebody to explain this to me. I want you to write in via the email, sto@2040south.com. I want you to explain to me, brother. I want you to tell me, how can you love only one person at a time? I would say that if you can only love one person at a time, doesn't this make you a piss-poor excuse for a human being? See, I love lots of people. I mean, I love them too. I spread my love around all over the place. I say, baby, bring that that ass up over here, and I'm going to spread some love on that stuff. But seriously, I want to know here, what are the exact dynamics of loving only one person at a time? Now, love is an emotion, right? How do you love only one person? Is there a limited amount of love that you have? Are you only allowed to? Because I'm serious, Randy. See, Randy's going, I only love my boyfriend. Yeah, but Randy, you're a fucking freak. You're a freak. You're a Republican and a Christian. Nobody can take you seriously. What? Yeah. See, now I love you too. See, and there you go. But you don't love me the way you love your boyfriend. See, so that's a different kind of love. Okay, Randy's saying there is a different kind of love, and is that yes, you can love only one person at a time, and I'm saying that Randy's full of shit. I don't know how you can love only one, but let's skip that for right now, because see, I don't really. For me to argue that it doesn't work like that, somebody first has to try and explain to me how it works. And nobody has yet done that, so I'm waiting. As soon as I get a reasonable explanation of how you love only one person at a time, I will then debunk that explanation. Until then, there's not much I can do about it. Let's talk about a slightly different aspect of the same question. We say you can love one person at a time. So, okay, great. You find yourself a boyfriend, and you love him, and you hang out, and blah blah blah, and then one day he's an asshole, and so you dump his ass, and then you find a new boyfriend, and you love him. Now, the love was channeled towards the first boyfriend, but then that ended, and the love is now channeled towards the second boyfriend. My question is, when you tell somebody I love you, and then you decide you don't love them anymore, how does that work? Do they give you the love back when you don't love them anymore? Do you take the love back from them? Do you never really give them the love? Is it just kind of an illusion? Is the love gone, but when you stop loving the first boyfriend and go to the second boyfriend, does it somehow grow back? Did you just lie to the first boyfriend, whether you knew you were lying or not lying to him? Did you really not love him, and you didn't really love anybody till you found the second boyfriend, and now you love him, until, of course, he does something, you don't love him anymore? How does this work? If there's this limited amount of love that you can only give to one person, then does that mean the only person you've ever really loved is the first person you loved? Or does that mean the first and maybe the second and the third, you didn't really love them, you just thought you did? How exactly if there's a limited amount of love, how does that work when you move from loving one person to another person, which of course we do all the time? No. Because, no. No. Those are off topic. We'll talk about that when I do that article, if I can find that book. Wherever it may be. I think it might... Oh! Hey, I just found it. Maybe we will do this tonight. I've got everything marked and highlighted. Okay, I'll throw it on the top of the pile. Alright, sorry. Randy, where are we on time? 34. Okay. So I'm serious, people. I need the explanation of how you love one person at a time and what happens when you stop loving them and transfer your love to somebody else. I want the exact dynamics of how this works, and then I can destroy it and make you all look stupid. Now, I know, I am an asshole. Hey, we're going to get through this. This is shocking. I'm at the end of my notes. This is great. Well, that's good, though, because that'll give me time to talk about the other stuff. We talked about some good stuff in philosophy classes since I was last here, and I'm just, got to get time to get on here and do all this stuff. One of the arguments about monogamy is that being monogamous with another person somehow is related to being able to trust them. That if they have sex with other people, you can't trust that person. Now, I'm wondering how exactly that works also. How is who a person has... Now, again, let me make this clear. Because I talked about in the first part of this. Not in this present edition of Stating the Obvious. If you say to another person, I am not going to have sex with anybody except you, or if you marry a person and part of your vows is that you're not going to have sex outside the marriage, and then you have sex with another person, yes, that's being dishonest. You have done something. The having sex part isn't dishonest. The dishonest part is doing something you said you weren't going to do, which happens to be having sex with another person. In relationships where there is not a spoken, deliberate, agreed upon promise made that there's not going to be sex with other people, some people will say, well, you should be monogamous because it's a matter of trust. It's related to trust. If the person has sex with other people, how can you trust them? And I'm not really sure I see how these two things relate, because I would say, what about your friends? Everybody out there has friends, right? And your friends have sex with other people besides you. But you trust them, don't you? So here's the thing. Your friends have sex with other people besides you, and you can trust them. But the person that you're having sex with, if she has sex with somebody else, and you can't trust her anymore. So what exactly is the difference here? And what if the woman I'm having sex with had sex with somebody else before she had sex with me? Why doesn't that count and make me not be able to trust her? And furthermore, what about from the other person's perspective? What about her former boyfriend? So say she's having sex with me now. Can he trust her anymore? So if he can't trust her, that means she's not untrustworthy. That means she's... I'm doing double negatives here. That means she's untrustworthy from his perspective. So if she's untrustworthy, then why should I trust her anyway? I mean, trying to tie trust to having sex doesn't work. Not when you're trying to tie, if I can talk straight, not when you're trying to tie number, frequency of sexual partners directly to trust. If you put in between those two things the concept of making a vow or a promise to not have sex with other people, you can get away with that. But if that promise, if that vow isn't there, it's not going to work. And of course, let me just end this by taking a nice big swig of water there. Let me end this section by saying this. If you tell me that you believe in monogamy, which is having only one sex partner, and you have had sex with more than one person in your life, that means you're a hypocrite, and that means that there's no reason for me to be getting my moral beliefs from you. Monogamy means one sexual partner. So, if you believe in monogamy and you have fucked more than one person, you are a hypocritical piece of shit. And here's the other thing. If for all of you who push monogamy, I mean, how exactly does this work? If you believe in monogamy and you get yourself a little girlfriend when you're 18 or whatever, and you boink her when you're 21, and then you turn 23 and you realize that you're not really suited for each other and you go your separate ways, well, that's it. You can't fuck anybody else. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but you're the stupid motherfucker who believes in monogamy, not me. You can't fuck anybody else. It's over. Oh, well, you can, but then, ethically, you're a hypocritical piece of shit. Do you see the problem here? Some of you don't, of course. Because some of you think that Skippy's just an asshole. Well, Skippy is an asshole, but you're still wrong. Yeah, I'm looking over this article here to see if I want to attempt tackling this. If we do, we're probably going to go over. I'm not sure that we have the time. The dilemmas. Randy, the dilemmas. Do I talk more or do I talk less? Damn. Alright. Let's talk less. Hit the music, and we'll do this one as a third part in this series. Maybe tonight when we get home. So anyway, it will soon be off to the theater for me for another, interesting excursion into the morality of adultery. A scarlet letter. Oh, God. See ya.